Good morning. Today I'm headed to the German seaside to visit a place that was designed for thousands of vacationing Nazis. But as it turns out, construction never was finished and all those Nazis never got to stay there. So tonight, I'll be the one staying the night. Am I a little freaked out? Definitely. But we'll see what's there.
This massive resort complex is known as the Colossus of Prora, or just Prora, and it's located on the island of Rügen,
which is a popular beach destination for Germans during the summer. But Rügen is pretty far away from where I am right now in Berlin, and as you can see, I've decided to take the train. And the cool thing is right now in Germany, you can get an entire month of train travel for just 49 euros. The only real downside to the pass is that you can't use it on the high-speed train, so I'll be taking a combination of regional trains, which will take me about 6 hours. And if I drove there, yeah, it would be faster, but it would cost a lot more too. But I'm always game for a nice train ride, and I've never taken this route before either, so I'm looking forward to it. And the other catch is that since I can't take the high-speed trains, there's not a super direct routing, so I've got to switch trains a few times, and I'm just over here at one of the stations along the way for about 20 minutes until the next train comes. And my train's coming right on time, so now I've got another 3-hour journey to go. Second train. And even though this train isn't quite as impressive as those high-speed ICE trains they have here in Germany, it is pretty comfortable. You can get up and stretch your legs. And luckily, both of the trains that I've been on so far today aren't that full, so there's plenty of space. And it seems like as I travel up north to Rügen, the weather's getting a little bit more cloudy, but it still looks pretty nice out, and it's not raining or anything. So I hope it holds out, especially because I'm going to have to wait about an hour over in this smaller town of Stralsund. But one notable thing about these smaller regional trains is they don't have any kind of meal service or even drinks for sale available usually. So you got to bring your own stuff. But luckily I came prepared with a thermos of coffee, my water, and a few snacks, so that's pretty important. Let's see what this train bathroom looks like, because I got to use it. It's pretty bad. Definitely never seen a bathroom in an airplane this bad. I mean, toilet paper all over the ground, right? You don't want to use this bathroom if you don't have to, but unfortunately I do have to. And in the train stations in Germany, one thing I really hate is that you have to pay to use the bathroom pretty much always. There's no free bathrooms almost anywhere in Germany. So this is just what I've got to do. But I am almost up to Rügen, so this is the only time I'm going to have to use the bathroom, at least I hope. But at least everything in the bathroom does seem to work, and you can wash your hands after you use the bathroom. That's really key on a train like this. I'm so happy the water actually works and there's soap to wash my hands with. Because otherwise... But alright, to be as fair as possible to the German railways, both of the trains I've taken today have been exactly on time. And this bathroom still isn't as bad as you'd find at a rest stop in Germany, which I've also had the unfortunate experience of visiting. And in just a few hours, I'll make it up to Rügen to see what's become of that Nazi-built resort. One more train. Oh, just one more hour of trains today. And since I've got about an hour over here to change trains in Stralsund, I'm going to take a little bit of a look around the city just to see what it's like. The train station is actually pretty nice, and the walk to the old town isn't far at all. There are a few sights to see for sure, but not with just an hour. Stralsund does have a pretty impressive old town and is also surrounded by water, which is nice, and you can really feel the Baltic Sea air here. But unfortunately, that is all the time I've got here in Stralsund today, though it was nice to walk around the old town. So it's time to head onwards back to the train station and on over on the train to Prora. And one other thing about these German regional trains is that they usually have a first-class seating cabin, but that 49 euro ticket does not include seating in there at all. So this is what first class looks like, but since I only have that 49 euro ticket, I'm not allowed to sit in here. And I don't think I could even pay to upgrade or anything like that. But to be honest, the seats aren't all that different anyway. Regardless, this train ride is definitely proving to be the best of the three. The other two trains were fine, but the landscapes are really flat everywhere between Berlin and Stralsund, and yeah, it's pretty flat here too, but there's some pretty nice views. And interestingly, this regional train is actually run by a different company than the other two. The other two are just Deutsche Bahn regional trains, but this is ODEG or Ostdeutschland something something. It's like East German Railway. And it's actually a little bit nicer than the Deutsche Bahn ones, it seems. But although it might come as a bit of a surprise to some, the trains in Germany do not usually run so always on time. Technically last year in 2023, regional trains in Italy were a little bit more on time than in Germany, so that should tell you enough. So I can't help but stress how lucky I've been that all three trains have been perfectly on time today. These hills are really scenic, and by East German standards, well, especially by Northeast German standards, they're really called mountains. People call them mountains. In fact, the town we passed just a few minutes ago is called Bergen auf Rügen, which is just like mountains on the island of Rügen. So they're not technically mountains, but people here do consider them that because they're just used to flat land in northern Germany. Just one more stop to go. And just a little over 5 hours later, I've made it to Prora. And here it is, the seaside town of Prora, home to a massive resort built by the Nazis, which we will see in a little bit. But first, let's see what else there is here. Well, for one thing, there's definitely the sea here, and I got really lucky with this sunny weather. This is not normal on Rügen. So far, you could pretty much describe this as a normal place. The beach they have here is really impressive, but a big part of it is covered in this kind of seaweed / shell concoction. It smells like doo-doo, like really bad. You don't want to hang out around this smell. So I'm just gonna go up that way a little bit, and over there should be no smell because there's no seaweed stuff. If you've ever been to Cancun and you've seen the seaweed that's often there, this kind of reminds me of that, except for this smells way, way worse. This is the stuff that you want to avoid at all costs because it just smells terrible. And you shouldn't really go swimming in that area either, but a lot of people are doing it anyway. And it's still spring here, but this guy is swimming. The Baltic Sea today is like, I want to say 18 degrees Celsius or something like that. So basically too cold to swim. Think of a swimming pool being at like 24 or something, but people are still going in the water. But now I've finally got past the smelly part and I'm gonna keep going down this way you see behind me. And if I were to walk down this beach a few miles, then I'd actually reach the more popular beach town of Binz. If you want to go to Binz, it's this way. But if you're interested in this crazy Nazi hotel that's been abandoned, well, it's over there. If I had just been looking for like a regular good old beach vacation, I would have definitely stayed in Binz. There's plenty more hotels over there. But there's nothing like the massive Nazi resort we're about to see over here in Prora. And besides the similarities of both Cancun and this beach on Rügen having seaweed, the Nazis, which had commissioned this massive resort to be built here, actually wanted this beach to be called the Caribbean Beach. So they basically modeled it after beaches in the Caribbean. Maybe Cancun. The Baltic Sea is one of the best places in the world to find amber, and Prora is supposed to be a pretty good beach for finding it. Supposedly, the best time to search for amber is right after a storm, which is right now actually, but I haven't been able to find any. Basically, you just look through the weeds and the shells, and often some amber will float ashore, especially with big clumps of stuff. But again, I'm just not so lucky today. And I find it pretty interesting how amber is created. Basically, the sap from these pine trees that are all along the coast of the Baltic Sea fall into the sea and then after thousands of years create amber, and then it just washes up back on shore. But as much as I wish I could say I found some amber here, I didn't. But actually everything that I was just saying, forget about it. I found amber. But it's actually only worth like 25 cents, I think. Still amber. And to everybody who told me that I couldn't find amber, look at where I am at now, y'all. And to everybody who told me that I could find amber, well, thanks so much. You probably shouldn't have believed in me because, you know, I'm not from here. I don't really know how to look for amber, but I did get lucky. But the sunny weather seems to have come to an end, so let's go check out this abandoned Nazi building. But even though the Nazis did abandon this hotel, not all of it is in shambles today. And behind me, you see the hotel I'll be staying at for 2 nights. So let's go check it out. So here it is, the hotel. This is really an interesting building because it looks so modern. This place only opened up for business about 5 years ago, and then it closed for about 2 years during COVID. So they've really only been operating for about 3 years. But let's check out the room. I originally booked the smallest apartment because it was the cheapest and I didn't need anything big. It was 40 square meters, which is already much bigger than the average hotel room, and this one's like 55 square meters or something, he said, because the guy decided just to upgrade me. So basically I ran out of the smallest rooms and then they upgraded me to a slightly bigger one. It's about 55 square meters, but it's pretty impressive. I think pretty much typically what you'd find around Germany in a nicer apartment. This bedroom's pretty nice. And obviously none of this apartment is original from the original Nazi resort. It's just that they happened to take that building, completely transform it and rebuild it, and make this very modern place to stay. And then another cool thing about it is that it really was not all that expensive to stay here. It's a little bit under 100 euros a night for this pretty massive apartment. Okay, fine, I booked a slightly smaller one, but you've got a comfortable place to sleep, and there's also like a kitchen here, so let's check the kitchen out. It is relatively basic for a kitchen, like you probably would have more in your own apartment or house, whatever, but you've got your pots and your pans. Actually quite a decent selection of pots and pans, I have to say. There's a little thing to hold hot water if you need that. A few knives. There's a toaster. Looks like a German toaster. I'll have to figure out how to use that later. Not that I really use toasters that much. Hot water kettle. Love these things. Coffee maker, of course. Everything you need to do the dishes. Some plates and bowls and cups and mini cutting boards, more plates. And these. Y'all know what these are? Well, if you're not German, you might not. I mean, they have them at some fancier restaurants around the world, but this is basically just a little container for boiled eggs that people like to eat boiled eggs out of because they boil them soft and they eat it with a spoon. I don't like it at all, but that's what these are. And this place is run by the Dormero hotel chain, which I believe is a German company, but it's kind of reminiscent of like, I don't know, a Marriott Residence Inn or something. I'm not really sure what the maximum amount of guests for this room is, but the table's for 4, and it looks like this bed would also fold out. Actually, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like it. So, I don't know. You could definitely have 4 people stay in this if the hotel was cool with it. So for a little less than 100 euros a night, you can make it 24, 23 euros a night. That's not bad. And to be honest, I've seen the nightly rates go for quite a lot less here, like in the 60s, but I just happened to have some time, so I booked it really last minute, and you know, I'm not complaining. It was a pretty good price. Here's the balcony. And the balcony is pretty impressive. I mean, you've got this really awesome view of the Baltic Sea, and it seems that every single unit here does come with a balcony. So everybody staying here gets this amazing view. But I want to reiterate, this place was only built by the Nazis under the order of Hitler in 1939, and it was never complete by them. This is an example of a building from a very dark era being transformed into something completely different. And I mean, to be fair, I did just get here, but I think I'm really happy that they built this hotel. There's one strange thing about this balcony though. I can feel when the neighbors are going out on their balcony, this one kind of vibrates a little bit. I'm gonna assume it's architecturally sound. This is modern Germany where pretty much everything is very architecturally sound, but that could be a little bit surprising if you're not used to it, I guess. I see that it's held with these beams, so that might be reasoning for that. So basically this place is here because the Nazis had this program they called Strength Through Joy. And in 1936, they started construction on this giant resort. In fact, at 4.5 kilometers in total length, or a little under 3 miles, this is one of the longest buildings in the world. And then after World War II came to an end, the Soviet army used these buildings for a while. And then the East German army used these buildings for a while. And then the current military of the reunited Germany, or the Bundeswehr, used this building for a while too. But of course today, as you've already seen, there's a hotel here. In addition to this hotel, there's also a hostel and a bunch of vacation homes here too. Plus there's a museum that goes over some of the history of the place. But I think the really exciting thing here is that they didn't try to erase history and knock the whole place down, but rather they transformed it into a cool hotel, some vacation homes, a museum, and even a hostel. And I mean, does it feel strange to be staying in a place that has any connection to Nazi Germany? Yes, but also no. I mean, the buildings here are connected to a very dark part of history that must never be forgotten. But the fact that these buildings have been transformed and now host thriving businesses makes for a very interesting experience, and I think I'm going to learn a lot here. There seem to really be a number of different businesses operating here, and most of the abandoned building is like this. You know, you can't actually even access it, but it's really interesting to walk around here, see what it did look like before and see what it looks like now too, kind of at the same time. So behind where I'm walking away from was kind of the center of that huge 4.5 kilometer long building. And over here was intended to be a kind of cruise port. And obviously it's not being used for anything like that now. And I don't think it ever was used for anything like that. Maybe the rare military boat did park here and it was used, but it's completely abandoned right now. You can just walk around right here, but the other part is blocked off. Now, while most of the abandoned part of these buildings are off bounds and would be unsafe to visit anyway, there's this documentation center here that's located in one of the buildings. I won't be going in depth about all the information you can get in this documentation center, but it's definitely worth a visit if you want to learn more about the history of this place. The permanent display goes really in depth and lives up to the museum's designation as a center dedicated to documentation. And outside of taking an organized tour or spending the night, this is probably the best place to visit a part of the Colossus of Prora. So for a place that had once been planned to be a vacation paradise for Nazis, there's actually a lot of beauty here now. I mean, there's a rainbow in the distance today. And even the buildings and infrastructure that are abandoned are interesting to visit. But that's about it for my time over here in Prora. I only had 2 days and it's coming to an end, sadly. But thank you so much for watching this video and make sure to subscribe to my channel for many more travel videos.